In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Say, O Muhammad, it has been revealed to me that a group of the jinn listened and said, Indeed, we have heard an amazing Qur'an.
Commentary. Preliminary remarks. It seems necessary to know a few facts before the start of the study of the surah, which are as follows. Fact. Before the advent of the Holy Prophet, the devils used to go up to the heavens and eavesdrop on the conversations of the angels. After his advent, they were pelted with a piercing flame if they attempted to go up and eavesdrop. It is mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf that a group of jinn went up to the Holy Prophet to investigate the reason for this new phenomenon. Fact. It was customary in the days of ignorance that when people halted in a jungle or valley in the course of a journey, they uttered the following words, I seek refuge in the leader of this valley from the foolish mischief. Makers of his nation believing that the leader of the valley, a jinn, would protect them. Fact. A terrible famine held Makkah in its grip for several years as a result of the Holy Prophet's prayer. Fact. When the Holy Prophet called the pagans towards Islam, they opposed him tooth and nail. The first two incidents are taken from Tafsir Maarif-ul-Qur'an, and the last two incidents are taken from Tafsir ibn Kathir. A group from jinn. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 1. The word nafar is used for a group consisting of 3 to 10 people. The jinn referred to here are said to be a group of 9 jinns from a place called Nazabin. Reality of jinn. Jinn is one of the divine creatures. They have body and soul. They, like human beings, have intellect and senses, but they are hidden from human eyes. This species of creation is called jinn because it literally means hidden or invisible. They, like human beings, are created from the 4 primal elements, dust, water, air, and fire, but the element of fire predominates in them, whereas in man the element of dust predominates. They, like human beings, are males and females, and they, like human beings, marry and procreate. Apparently, the word shaitan shaitan refers to the arrogant mischief-making jinn. The existence of jinn and angels is established by conclusive and incontestable evidence in the Quran and Sunnah, the denial or rejection of which amounts to disbelieving the Quran. Tafsir Majari. Say, it has been revealed to me Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 1. This shows that the Holy Prophet did not see the group of jinn who heard him recite the Quran. Allah informed him by the revelation of Surah Al-Jinn. Circumstances of revelation. Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates, as recorded in Sahih Bukhari of Muslim and in Tirmidhi and other collections, that Allah's Messenger did not by deliberate design make the jinn listen to the Quran, nor did he see them. The true story is that the Holy Prophet with his companions was going to the marketplace of Uqas. This incident took place at a time when the devils were barred from going to the skies and eavesdropping on the conversations of the angels by being pelted with piercing flames. When the jinn realized that they were no longer free to eavesdrop, they discussed among themselves that the incident could not be coincidental. There must be a genuine reason for that. So they divided themselves into groups, and each group went in different direction to investigate the cause of the new phenomenon. One of the groups arrived at a place called Nakyan in Tihama, where Hijj is situated. At that juncture, the Holy Prophet was leading the Sahaba in Fajr Salah, and the jinn had the opportunity to hear the Quran. When this group of jinn heard the Quran, they listened to it very attentively and concluded on oath that it was the Quran that prevented them from eavesdropping in the heavens. Then they returned to their fellow jinns and recounted to them the entire episode, which is mentioned in the following verse, and said to their people, Indeed, we have heard an amazing recital Quran. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 1. Allah informed his messenger about the entire incident of the jinn in the verses under discussion. Abu Talib's death and the Holy Prophet's journey to Taif. Most commentators say that after the death of Abu Talib, the Holy Prophet felt lonely, having no friend or supporter in Makkah. So he undertook a journey to Taif, where he approached Banu Thaqif for assistance against the hostility and persecution of his people. According to Muhammad ibn Ishaq's narration, when the Holy Prophet arrived in Taif, he approached the 3 brothers of Banu Thaqif. They were recognized as the leaders and honorable members of the tribe. The 3 brothers were Umair's sons, their names being Abdiyalil, Sa'ad, and Habib. They had a Qurayshite lady in their house. Allah's Messenger invited them to the call of Islam and mentioned about his people's hostility and persecution and asked for help. But they responded very harshly and did not speak to him about anything. Allah's Messenger saw that these 3 people were the most respected leaders of Banu Thaqif, from whom he expected a favorable response, but he was disappointed. He said to them that if they did not wish to help him, they should at least keep his arrival and request for help confidential, and not tell his people, because if they came to know about it, they would persecute him even more harshly. But the oppressors did not concede to this either. On the contrary, they let loose on him foolish hooligans, slaves and hoodlums, so that they may revile him and make violent noises in public places against him. When they made violent noises, more hoodlums and young violent criminal elements joined in. In order to save himself from the mischief of the hooligans and hoodlums, the Holy Prophet took refuge in a vineyard which belonged to two brothers, namely Utbah and Sheba. The brothers themselves were in the vineyard at the time. The hooligans and hoodlums left him and went back. The two brothers were watching him, and they also watched how violently the foolish people behaved towards him. Just then the Qurayshite lady, who was in the house of the oppressors, came to the Holy Prophet. He complained to her how her in-laws persecuted him. When the Holy Prophet felt a bit settled in the vineyard, he prayed to Allah. The wordings of this supplication are unusual, and on no other occasion such wordings are recorded. May Allah have mercy on him. O Allah, I complain to you the weakness of my strength and the shortage of my options, and lack of respect for me in the sight of people. You are the most merciful of all, and you are the cherisher and sustainer of the weaklings. You are my cherisher. To whom are you handing me over? To a stranger who would attack me, or to an enemy whom you have given control over me, so that he may do as he wishes? If you are not angry with me, I do not care. Your caring about me is better, which I pray for. I seek refuge in the light of your blessed being, which dispels all darkness, and on the foundation of which all matters related to this world and the next world are set aright. If you send down your wrath on us, our task is to exert ourselves until we gain your good pleasure. And there is neither strength nor power except through you. Condensed from Majari. When Rabbi's sons Utbah and Sheba saw this, they felt compassion for him in their heart. They called one of their Christian slaves, Adas by name, and asked him to break a bunch of grapes, place it in a plate and give it to that person, and ask him to eat. Complying with the instructions, Adas kept the plate of grapes in front of the Holy Prophet. He recited Bismillah in the name of Allah and stretched his hand towards it. Adas was watching all this and said, By Allah! This speech, referring to the formula of Basmala, is not used by the inhabitants of this city. The Holy Prophet asked him as to where he was from and what his religion was. He replied that he was a Christian and hailed from Nineveh. Then the Holy Prophet said to him that this means, You are from the village of Yunus ibn Matta. He asked, What do you know about Yunus ibn Matta? The Holy Prophet replied, He was my brother. He was Allah's prophet. I too am Allah's prophet. At this, Adas fell to the Holy Prophet's feet. He kissed the blessed head of the Holy Prophet and his hands and legs. Utbah and Sheba watched the whole incident. One of them said to the other, I hope he has not set our slave awry. When Adas returned to them, they asked him, What has happened? You were kissing his hands and feet? He replied, My masters, at this time there is no person better than he on the face of the earth. He has taught me something which none other than a prophet can teach. They said, You miserable wretch! May it not happen that this man turns you away from your religion, because your religion in any case is better than his. When the Holy Prophet was completely despaired of Thaqif as assistance, he returned from Taif to Makkah. On his way back, he halted at Nakia, and towards the latter part of the night, he performed Salatat Tahajjud. The delegation of jinns of Nazibin of Yemen had also gone there. They heard the Quran and embraced the faith. They went back to their people and recounted to them the whole incident, which Allah has mentioned in the verses under comment. Majari, a jinn companion of the Holy Prophet. Ibn Jawzi, in his book Sif, Atas, Tafwa, through his own chain of authorities, reports from Sahl ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, that he saw an old jinn, in a place, who was performing salah in the direction of Kaaba. He was wearing a woolen cloak that looked beautiful on him, and in which he looked graceful. After he completed his prayer, Sayyid Nasal, may Allah be pleased with him, greeted him. Replying to his greeting, he said, You seem to be admiring the beauty of this cloak. This cloak is on my body for 700 years. I had met Holy Prophet Isa in this cloak, and in the same cloak I met Holy Prophet Muhammad, and I am from among those jinns about whom Surah Al-Jinn was revealed. According to the hadith narratives that recount the incident of the night of Jinn, i.e. the night in which the jinns visited the Holy Prophet Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, was with the Holy Prophet, and the Holy Prophet met the jinns in a valley near Makkah for the specific purpose of inviting them to the call of Islam and making them hear the Quran by deliberate design. Apparently, this incident occurred after the incident mentioned in Surah Al-Jinn. Allama Khafaji has said that reliable hadith confirm that the jinn delegations met the Holy Prophet 6 times. Thus there is no contradiction between the two versions of the incident, because they are two separate incidents. The Holy Prophet was not even aware of the incident of the jinns coming to him and listening to the Qur'an that is mentioned in Surah Al-Jinn. He only learnt about it later through revelation. This incident happened at Mecca on his way back from Taif. The other narratives from which we gather that the Holy Prophet met the jinn by deliberate design in a valley near the city of Mecca to preach to them and make them hear the Qur'an is a separate incident which took place after that.
It guides to the right course, and we have believed in it, and we will never associate with our Lord anyone.
See Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 1, for the Tafsir.
And it teaches that exalted is the nobleness of our Lord. He has not taken a wife or a son.
And then the jinn started talking to each other that exalted is the glory of our Lord. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayat 3. The word Jed means majesty, swift glory used for Allah. Instead of saying Bajuhu with the third person pronoun referring to Allah, the attributive name Rab, Lord, is expressly retained, which indicates the exalted position of Allah. The being who is the cherisher and sustainer of his creation must, of necessity, occupy the lofty position. Commentators have discussed the grammatical conjunctive construction with Anna, who at length in this verse. It might be of no interest to the general readers.
And that our foolish one has been saying about Allah an excessive transgression.
And that the fools among us used to attribute to Allah extremely wrong things, and that we thought that the humans and the jinn would never tell a lie about Allah, therefore we had followed them in shirk under this impression. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 5. The word shat means vile words, extravagant or exorbitant, or enormous lies. The word also means to transgress or act wrongfully, unjustly, or exceed the legitimate bounds. The believers from amongst jinn used to put forward their excuse for being involved in disbelief and idolatry. Thus, the foolish people from amongst their nation uttered vile slander against Allah, whilst they did not think it possible for a human being or a jinn to impute a lie to Allah. They were thus far caught up in the foolish people's vile words and committed kufr and shirk, but they had now heard the Qur'an and the reality had later opened up.
And we had thought that mankind and the jinn would never speak about Allah a lie.
See Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 4, for the Tafsir.
And there were men from mankind who sought refuge in men from the jinn, so they only increased them in burden.
And that some people from human beings used to seek refuge with some peoples of the jinn, and thus they increased them the jinns in arrogance. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 6. This verse describes the situation that it was customary for people in the days of ignorance that when they halted in a valley in the course of a journey, they sought refuge in the jinn leader of that valley from the foolish mischief makers of his nation, believing that the leader of the valley will protect them. This made the jinn think that they are better than human beings. That is why they seek refuge in their leader, but this increased the wickedness of the jinn. Rafi ibn Umair's, may Allah be pleased with him, Islam on account of the jinn. Majah recites in his Tafsir that it is reported in Hawatiful Jinn through his chain of narrators on the authority of Sayyidina said him and Jubair, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Holy Prophet's companion Rafi ibn Umair, may Allah be pleased with him, recounts an incident of his embracing the Islamic faith. Thus, one night I was traveling in a desert. Suddenly I was overcome by sleep. So I lighted from my camel, and before I went off to sleep I uttered the following formula in keeping with the custom of my people. I seek refuge in the leader of the jinn of this valley from the foolish mischief makers of his nation. I saw in my dream that there is a sword in a person's hand who wants to place it on my camel's chest. I woke up in a shock and looked around in all directions, but found nothing. So I said to myself that this was some shaitanic nightmare. It was not a true dream, and fell back into deep sleep and became completely oblivious to my surrounding. I experienced the same dream again. I got up and looked all around the camel, but found nothing. This time, however, I found the camel shivering. I went back to my place and slept away and saw the same dream. I awoke and found my camel tossing about restlessly. Then I saw a youngster in whose hand was a weapon. This was the same person whom I had seen attacking the camel the first time. I saw he was holding the hand of an old man who was stopping him from attacking the camel. Just then 3 wild zebras appeared. The old man said to the youngster, "Choose any one of these zebras, and let go this man's camel." The youngster took one of the zebras and took leave. The old man then looked at me and said, "You fool, when you seek refuge in a valley, and you fear any danger from the jinn or devils, recite thus, I seek refuge in Allah, the Lord of Muhammad, from the horrors of this valley." Do not seek refuge in any jinn, because that time is gone when human beings used to seek refuge in jinn. I asked him who that person was. He replied that he was the Arabian holy prophet, neither Eastern nor Western. He was raised with his prophetic mission on a Monday. I asked him where he lived. He replied that he lived in Yathrib, which is an area where dates grow abundantly. As soon as the morning dawned, I set for Medina and urged my mount to move faster and faster until I reached Medina. When the holy prophet saw me, he recounted to me the entire episode before I could tell him anything. He invited me to the call of Islam, and I embraced the Islamic faith. Having narrated this story, Sayyidina Said ibn Jubair, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the following verse was revealed in this connection, and that some people from human beings used to seek refuge with some people of the jinn. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 6.
And they had thought, as you thought, that Allah would never send anyone as a messenger.
See Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 6, for the Tafsir.
And we have sought to reach the heaven, but found it filled with powerful guards and burning flames.
And that we sought to reach the sky, but we found it filled with stern guards and flames. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 8. The word Sama is used in two different senses, sky as well as cloud. It would appear that here the word is used in the latter sense. The jinn used to go only up to the clouds to eavesdrop, not to the sky. The jinn and the devils used to go up to the sky means that they used to go to the clouds, take up positions there to sit and eavesdrop. The proof of this is found in Sahih Bukhari, on the authority of Sayyidah Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, who reports, I have heard the Messenger of Allah say that the angels descended in the Anan of Sama, meaning the cloud. There they discuss the decisions Allah has issued in the sky. The devils listened to their private conversations without them knowing about it, and passed the information to the soothsayers, mixing it with 100 lies from their side. Majari. A narration is recorded in Sahih Bukhari on the authority of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, and in Muslim on the authority of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, to the following effect. When Allah issues an order in the sky, the angels flap their wings in readiness to obey the order. When the issuance of the order is over, they discuss among themselves. The devils eavesdrop on this discussion and pass the information to the soothsayers, mixing it with many lies. This hadith apparently contradicts the narration of Sayyidat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, but in actual fact, there is no conflict between the two narratives. This narrative does not prove that the devils go inside the sky to eavesdrop. Probably, when the order is issued in the first instance by Allah, it filters down to the angels from the upper level to the lower level, until the angels come down to the cloud where they discuss it. The devils steal the information from here as mentioned by Sayyidat Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, Majari. At any rate, before the advent of the Holy Prophet, the jinn and devils have free access to the heavenly information. They used to position themselves in a cloud and eavesdrop on the conversations of the angels and pass the information to the soothsayers. At the advent of the Holy Prophet, there arose the need to protect the heavenly revelation. As a result, the access of devils to the upper region was stopped in such a way that if a devil attempted to go up, he would be repelled by piercing flames. This was a new phenomenon that excited the curiosity of the devils and jinn, and dividing themselves into groups, they went to the east and to the west to investigate. One of the groups arrived at a place called Nakia, where its members heard the Quran and embraced the faith of Islam, as mentioned in Surah Al-Jinn. Meteors existed since the inception of time, but were not used to repel the devils before the advent of the Holy Prophet. It happened only after his advent. A doubt that may arise here is that the existence of meteors, which in common parlance are called Inkidadul Kawkab, the falling stars, is not a new phenomenon. This verse, however, indicates that they showed up to repel the devils, as if they are New Age phenomena of the Holy Prophet. In response, it may be stated that there is no denying that the meteors did exist since the inception of time and space before the advent of the Holy Prophet, and that there is no contradiction between what humanity experienced since the beginning of the world, scientific explanations, and the Quranic statement. Philosophers and scientists explain that the meteors may originate from the Earth or stars or disintegrating planets, and wander in space at enormous speeds and fall to the Earth. Some fiery matter may arise from the surface of the Earth and heat up at some point, where the speed of the meteors makes them glow and burn, or a flame emits from a star, and this may have habitually continued ever since. These flames, however, were not used to serve a particular purpose before the advent of the Holy Prophet. They were merely a natural phenomena. After the advent of the Holy Prophet, meteoric flames were used to serve the purpose of shooting the devils, if they attempted to go up and listen furtively to the conversation of the angels. See also Maarif-ul-Qur'an, Vol. 5 pp. under Surah Al-Hayr, ayah 17 to 18.
And we used to sit therein in positions for hearing, but whoever listens now will find a burning flame lying in wait for him.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 8, for the Tafsir.
And we do not know, therefore, whether evil is intended for those on earth, or whether their Lord intends for them a right course.
And that we do not know whether it is a bad end that is intended for those on earth, or their Lord has intended for them a right thing. Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 10. The jinn and devils were barred from having access to heavenly news. In this case, it would be a punishment for the inhabitants of the earth. However, if Allah intends them to be rightly guided, He has barred the jinn and shaitan from having access to the heaven, so that they do not interfere with divine revelation. Therefore, they expressed their reservations about this to the effect that they had no idea as to whether it was a bad end that was intended for the inhabitants of the earth, or whether Allah intended them to be rightly guided.
And among us are the righteous, and among us are others not so. We were of divided ways.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 10, for the Tafsir.
And we have become certain that we will never cause failure to Allah upon earth, nor can we escape Him by flight.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 10, for the Tafsir.
And when we heard the guidance, we believed in it, and whoever believes in his Lord will not fear deprivation or burden.
So if one believes in his Lord, he will have no fear of either any curtailment in his reward or any excess in his punishment. Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 13. The word ba'th, with by carrying fatha and carrying sukan, means to reduce the right, and the word rehek means disgrace. In other words, anyone who believes in Allah need fear neither curtailment in the reward of his good deeds, nor disgrace by excess in his punishment in the hereafter.
And among us are Muslims in submission to Allah, and among us are the unjust. And whoever has become Muslim, those have sought out the right course.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 13, for the Tafsir.
But as for the unjust, they will be for hell firewood.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 13, for the Tafsir.
And Allah revealed that if they had remained straight on the way, we would have given them abundant provision.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 13, for the Tafsir.
So we might test them therein, and whoever turns away from the remembrance of his Lord, He will put into arduous punishment.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 13, for the Tafsir.
And He revealed that the masjids are for Allah, so do not invoke with Allah anyone.
And that masjid and mosques belong to Allah, so do not invoke anyone along with Allah. Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 18. The word masjid is the plural of masjid. Here the word could be taken in its popular sense, that is, mosques or places of worship dedicated for the performance of prayers. In this case, it would mean that all mosques belong to Allah, dedicated to His sole worship, and therefore we are not permitted to call on anyone else besides Allah, like the Jews and Christians commit shirk in their places of worship. In sum, the mosques must be kept clear of all false beliefs and vile deeds. The word masjid could also have another sense. It could be the plural of masjid, with the letter jim carrying fath, in which case it would be masdar mimi infinitivity and mean to prostrate or prostration. The verse in this sense would signify that worship is reserved exclusively for Allah. It is not permitted to prostrate to anyone, because if he calls on anyone else for help, it is as though he is prostrating to him, which must be avoided.
And that when the servant of Allah stood up supplicating Him, they almost became about him a compacted mass.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
Say, O Muhammad, I only invoke my Lord and do not associate with Him anyone.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
Say, indeed, I do not possess for you the power of harm or right direction.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
Say, indeed, there will never protect me from Allah anyone if I should disobey, nor will I find in other than Him a refuge.
See Surah Al-Jinn, ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
But I have for you only notification from Allah and His messages. And whoever disobeys Allah and His Messenger, then indeed for him is the fire of hell. They will abide therein forever.
See Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
The disbelievers continue until, when they see that which they are promised, then they will know who is weaker in helpers and less in number.
See Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 18, for the Tafsir.
Say, I do not know if what you are promised is near, or if my Lord will grant for it a long period.
Ruling. A common consent of the scholars, prostration to anyone other Allah is totally forbidden. According to some scholars, it is tantamount to say, I do not know whether that which you are promised is near, or my Lord has appointed for it a distant term. He is the knower of the unseen, so He does not let anyone know His unseen. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 25-26. The non-believers demanded that the Holy Prophet should show them the exact time and date when the resurrection will occur. In verse Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 25, he is enjoined to say to them that it was not for him to say when the threatened punishment would come, but come it must.
He is knower of the unseen, and He does not disclose His knowledge of the unseen to anyone.
Verse Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 26, is the proof of the preceding verse. The Holy Prophet does not know whether the promised day is close or whether a longer time is appointed for it, because Allah alone is the knower of the unseen. That is His exclusive characteristics, and therefore He does not divulge His unseen to anyone. The definite article Alif Lam in Al-Ghaib, the unseen, is grammatically referred to as Alif Lam for Istigraq lil Jinns, the article encompassing and indicating the entire genus as stated in Ra with reference to Radi, that is, He is omniscient, knowing every species of the unseen and all genera of the unseen. In the Idaf possessive case construction Gobihi His unseen, the possessive pronoun refers to Allah and reinforces His predominance over the unseen. Allah's knowledge comprehends and encompasses every infamous species of species, and every summum genus of genera of His creation. This is a specialized attribute of Allah. He does not divulge His unseen to anyone indiscriminately, so that He may store and retrieve the secrets of the unknown world as and when He wishes. The purport of the verse under comment is to affirm the totality of Allah's knowledge of the unseen so that He alone is fully aware of every particle of His creation, and to negate such total knowledge of the unseen for anyone other than Allah. It was possible that an unintelligent person might surmise that the Holy Prophet did not have any knowledge of the unseen, so how can he be a messenger? Allah reveals to a messenger thousands of secrets of the unseen. Anyone to whom no revelation comes down cannot be a prophet or messenger. Thus the following verse makes an exception, except a messenger whom He chooses to inform through revelation, and then He appoints angels as watching guards before him and behind him, so that devils may not tamper with the divine revelation. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 27.
Except whom He has approved of messengers, and indeed He sends before each messenger and behind him observers.
Difference between knowledge of the unseen and reports of the unseen events. The exception made here is the response to the doubt raised by unintelligent people. The negation of the total knowledge of the unseen does not necessarily entail absolute negation of every unknown secret. For the office of Risala, a messenger needs a certain amount of knowledge of unseen things which Allah grants him through revelation. When Allah sends down the revelation to His Holy Prophet, He sends it down under His special protection, and is completely secure against being distorted or tampered with by devils. First of all, the word Rasul, messenger, determines the type of knowledge granted to a prophet or a messenger. Evidently, it is the knowledge of the sacred laws and injunctions in its totality, and of the unseen events according to the exigency of time. The next statement states the heavily protected manner in which the unseen knowledge is granted. It is sent down through angels around whom are posted other angels as sentinels. This explanation clarifies the point that the accepted sentence that affirms the unseen knowledge granted to a holy prophet and a messenger is a specialized unseen knowledge which is essential and relevant to the proper functioning of a prophetic office. Technically, this exception, in Arabic grammar, is referred to as istithna munkadi, which may be defined as the exceptive sentence in which the exception is severed from, or wholly different in kind from, the general description given before. In this sense, whilst the basic sentence negated total unseen knowledge in general terms for anyone besides Allah, the acceptive sentence does not affirm it. It merely affirms specialized acquaintance with some reports of the unseen events which the Quran frequently describes as Anbil Gaib. Thus, for instance, these are some reports from the unseen events which we revealed to you. Surah Hud, Ayah 49. Some unintelligent people do not grasp the distinction between knowledge of the unseen and reports of the unseen events. As a result, they attempt to prove total knowledge of the unseen for the prophets of Allah, especially for the last prophet. They believe that the Holy Prophet, like Allah, is omniscient, having knowledge of every particle of the universe. This is clearly shirk, assigning to the Holy Prophet the status of Godhead. God forbid. If any person discloses a secret to a friend of his of which no one else has that piece of knowledge or information, such a friend cannot be described as omniscient. Likewise, Allah has granted thousands of pieces of information of the unseen world through revelation to His holy prophets, but it is not true to say that they are omniscient. The ignorant laity do not understand the difference between the concepts. When they are told that the Holy Prophet is not omniscient, they understand this statement to imply that the Holy Prophet, God forbid, did not have any information about anything unseen. No believer in the world ever holds such a belief, nor can he ever do so, because if anyone does so, the whole structure of Nubuwah and Risala would come crumbling down. It is not possible for any believer to behave in this way.
That he may know that they have conveyed the messages of their Lord, and He has encompassed whatever is with them, and has enumerated all things in number.
The concluding part of the last verse says, and has comprehensive knowledge of everything by numbers. Surah Al-Jinn, Ayah 28. In other words, Allah alone encompasses the perfect knowledge of everything and keeps a meticulous count of it. He has the knowledge of the exact number of particles in the mountains. He has the knowledge of the exact number of drops in all the oceans of the world. He has the knowledge of the exact number of drops in every rain. He alone has the knowledge of the exact number of leaves on all the trees in the world. Thus it is made clear that the totality of the knowledge of the unseen is reserved exclusively for Allah, so that there should be no misunderstanding about the above exception clause. The question of the unseen knowledge is fully discussed under Surah An-Naml, Ayah 65. Say, no one in the heavens and the earth has the knowledge of the unseen except Allah. Surah An-Naml, Ayah 65.